Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakah, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today I'm looking at prophecy. It's been about 10, 11 days since I managed to put up a video. I explained a few weeks back. I've been just going through this crazy run of different scenarios and situations which keep coming my way, slowing me down. It's a very frustrating situation. So obviously, I'm just not getting the time to be able to put together these things. You know, Apostle Peter spoke of, you know, to paraphrase it, you'll face a strange, fiery trial, but then not to be pretty much bewildered by it, because obviously knowing, you're in the truth, you're calling on the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, you have the truth, so on and so forth, that you believe the Holy Spirit's working on you, then you're going to face certain situations and conflicts, which are obviously designed, to come against you and affect you. So obviously this is all a spiritual battle that we face. Yahweh Shai spoke of drinking the cup. So if you're in this, you've been in this thing maybe for 10 years, 20 years, you get to drink the cup, but then you get to drink the cup over a long period of time. But then if maybe you've just come into this a little while back, and then you've started to face all these problems since you've been dealing with this truth, since you realize the true name of the Most High, you believe the prophets and what we tell you, then maybe all of a sudden you started to face these particular problems in your daily lives. Constant things just constantly keep happening, and you almost want to scratch your head. You're kind of overwhelmed, thinking, how the hell is this all this stuff happens? This happens to a lot of people, and they end up falling out of the truth, or they end up, which is ultimately what they can't handle, is that fiery trial. But obviously, as Apostle Peter said, not to be overwhelmed by it. But if you may have been in this thing for a short period of time, and then you have to drink that cup, so you've got to drink it all by the time Yahweh Shai comes. So you just have to drink it at a more, you have to drink it quickly and a lot of it to get it all in before Yahweh Shai comes. Maybe if someone's been in a lot longer, they've had to drink the same cup, but maybe it just gets stretched out over a little longer period of time, and you get to sort of have it in, piece by piece. But it is what it is. So in that time, we've seen a situation with the small hats and Iran. We've seen the small hats pretty much, as it says here on the screen. This is from Reuters, mapping the conflicts between Israel and Iran, and they're calling it a surprise attack, which is exactly what it was. There was a surprise, quote unquote, attack from the small hats onto Iran, and what that's doing, obviously the news is lighting up with talk of World War III. People are getting excited now. Before I get onto the timing of it, and where you sort of like try to scope the future, because ultimately we're prophets, so the job is to tell you of the future, and to do that you got to consider it. But before that, I was reading through this. I'm not going to go through this whole article. I'll leave it in the description box if you want to gaze through it. But the long and short of it is, what they're saying is there's been a surprise attack from the small hats over to Iran, and what they've done is they've managed to hit missile sites, Iranian missile sites, which are ground based on land surface, and they've hit various things. And so it's obviously, it kind of like looks good on the side of the small hats, and Iran have sort of, if you like, quote unquote, taken this battering. It says here, so this is when you read into this article, so I'll just read this little part here. It says, as part of its campaign, the small hats have conducted extensive aerial bombardments against Iranian missile launchers, silos, and support units. It says, according to analysis from the Institute of the Study of War, it says, and AEI, Critical uh, Threats Project, the Critical Threats Project, Israel, Small Hats has likely destroyed around a third of Iranian missile launchers. Um, Iran's early waves of retaliatory strikes have also depleted its stock of missiles that can reach the small hats. ISW estimates it has used up at least a third and as much as half of its long-range missiles. So what they're basically trying to say is this little situation that's been happening over the last week or so, or few days, is, it's left Iran depleted. And so, when you sort of then look on the side of the dummy, the average person in the world who would want, if you're like someone in the world who's got no clue what's going on, these people, they're pretty much stupid, and they just follow what the TV, the media tell them. They believe it. The government, they believe there's an issue in Iran, and these people need to be taken out for whatever reason. And then, so from that side point of view, it kind of looks good that small hats have, done this, and it's, oh look, they've been depleted. That's a dent in their armor, and maybe it will make them settle down, and we can just carry on with our way of life, our Western society, and so on and so forth. That's what it all boils down to. This whole setup. And you'll get things like this. You get things like this in the news where they try to sort of make the story sound like, oh, we're winning the war against these, these ISTs, yeah. So, but really, we know prophecy. We know how the story ends. We've been telling you of this. We've been saying, look, you've got, World War III, you've got the MOTB, you've got Jacob's Trouble, you've got these various things, and they're coming to pass. So, we know obviously the end result according to what the scriptures tells us. We know that, for example, Ezekiel chapter 38, we know that Russia, the Medes, have to, at some point, according to prophecy, have to come in and play the part of the cavalry. When the cavalry arrive, that will be Russia, and they will be arriving to the aid of the Carmanians, who are Iran. And we know, according to scriptures, that the least of the flock, the small hats, are the ones that are going to draw everybody out into this Armageddon situation. So you're only going to call for the cavalry when you're on the back foot. So these types of little stories where they say, yes, we're winning the fight against these bad people. What you're actually doing is backing them into a corner more and more. And this is a perfect chess move by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, who controls the minds of these kings. And so, you back them in a corner. Go ahead, be my guest. Back them into a corner, and at some point the cavalry will arrive. Now they're hoping it won't. This, that, and the other. They can quash this. This is why the small hats keep, what they're doing publicly. They're saying to America, help us, and America said, oh, we're not too sure, but they're backing them, on the sly. So it's exactly how we've told you what it's going to be. The small hats starting this thing off. It's a do I or don't I situation for Babylon the Great when it comes to helping. That's how it plays out in the media and the social aspect. But really, behind the scenes, it's all planned, and everybody's in on it. They want to take you to the third woe to reset everything, reset the financial system, reset how they have identification of human beings, their borders. They've let the borders go. In America, Babylon the Great, you've got people complaining about the borders. It's the same thing in England. People are pissed. They're complaining. They say that this is happening. People are starting to wake up. I'm talking to the average person at work, and they're going, well, they've let the borders. They've just let them open. Why are they just letting them in? What are they doing? And someone today at work was saying to me how France are using, you know, immigrants go through France. They try to cross from France to the UK, and France do nothing to stop them. But they're saying they're using it as a weapon against us because they do that and this, that, and it's all to do with Brexit, this, that, and the other. So there's a lot of unhappy people around the world, and they're starting to realise what's going on. You've got this various things going on. But back to this situation with the third woe. Obviously, we know it's like I say, it's behind the scenes. It's a planned situation. They want to take it to a scenario where it gives them the chance to reset everything. So, but at some point, it will get out of hand because, according to prophecy, America will be destroyed, and obviously, so will the land of where the small hats are at the minute. Although that will be rebuilt back, and in the kingdom, but America will not be. It will be left as a memorial as to what not to do. Otherwise, when it comes to wickedness, don't do that because this is what happens. This will be the end result. A little bit like Lot's wife. She's the scientists say that she's still up there today. Looking back at Sodom and Gomorrah, and wherever it was, other cities, and obviously it's a similar situation with Babylon the Great. Similar situation that we'll face in the kingdom. So they're backing them into a corner, and it's a good thing, really, because when they back them into a corner, at some point the cavalry has to arrive. Okay, so that's that situation. The other situation is with the timing. If you think back, we had this situation last October, around about the time we had the vote for president in America, and we had a situation with the Middle East. There was, missiles being sent back and forth for whatever reason at the time, whatever excuses were used. So the other thing, as prophets, we look at the time. We have to assess the time to show the people. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and 1. It says, "But of those times and the seasons, brethren, it says, ye have no need that I write unto you. It says, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." So, you take this into account, what Apostle Paul said here. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. And it says, as travail upon a woman with child, they shall not escape. So this whole trouble, if you think back like to last October, and I was shown something. Basically, I was shown many things in 2018 through the Spirit, by the Most High. I was shown many things, obviously, pertaining to the future. And then there's one particular thing I didn't quite get, and then obviously come last October, it was revealed to me. And then since then I said, look, from now, the Most High is going to turn the world upside down. The prophets are known for turning the world upside down. The apostles, in the day of Yahushua, his 12 apostles, Apostle Paul, they were known for turning the world upside down. Obviously, there was others that were teaching with them also. And then, so turning the world upside down, and then Esau's turned the world upside down himself, through iconoclasm and so on and so forth, with the science. And then, but the Most High, to fix it, he has to turn it back around. So he has to turn the world upside down. The prophets did it, and now the Most High has to do it, because the prophets speak of the Most High doing it, through speaking the Most High's word, and the Most High then has to follow through with His word, and then so He has to make it happen. So going back to the world being turned upside down, that was then revealed to me in August. I mentioned it. I've been saying it ever since. And then I've also said that Donald Trump is definitely the last president of America. And then that happened around, just before Donald Trump was elected. Obviously, I've said that since when, after he got elected. And then we had that situation in October with Iran and the small hats, and it's similar to what's happening today. We've got the situation with the small hats, the surprise attack on Iran, a bit of retaliation, and then everybody gets excited. They say, "Oh, World War III," and they're talking about it in the news, destruction, this, that, and the other. And then people who understand some prophecy, but not all of it, they get excited. They say, "Well, the destruction's coming, and we're close." But you still got the MOTB, you still got Jacob's trouble to go through. So we've explained before that these things obviously coincide. Could be a situation where you obviously need the financial system to crash to eventually bring you to the MOTB, and to get the financial system to crash. The tipping point could be a third world war. So you could then have Armageddon, going on for a certain amount of time, 5 months, 6 months, 7, 8 months. You don't know, and it could just build up and get worse, and eventually, obviously, it will lead to destruction. But turning the world upside down pretty much includes Jacob's trouble, the Third World War, the MOTB, and then obviously the destruction of America. The arrival of Yahushua by so-called UFOs, that's something that's going to turn the world upside down. After all the turning of upside down they're going to get to up until that day, until the day of the Lord is just so going to outweigh everything that even on that day it's still turning upside down. Even more, so-called UFO invasion, people's hearts are going to fail just from seeing it. They're going to just drop dead on the floor, like they were doing in 2020. And then, so what we're trying to do is work out the time. It says, for when there shall be peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child. It says, then they shall not escape. So these contractions. When a woman has, gives birth, there are contractions. What happens with a woman? Usually they start off the pregnancy, they're loving it, and they're all cool, they're happy, they got pregnant, they got this baby, they're going to be a mum, blah blah blah, and then obviously it starts getting bigger and heavy, and then they get to a point where they just some will say, I just want this baby out of me, because it's getting to the point where their stomach stretched, they're at their maximum. That baby's just grown to its full capacity. Is pretty much any day now it's going to come. And then and this is how we have been, waiting on Yahushua, waiting on these prophecies to be fulfilled. So then comes that day, and that day is when you get contractions. You can say you've had struggles and pains up until that point, because you just wanted this baby gone. Just got to the point where I just I need to get it out of me. But then comes that day, and then now you reach another level of pain. It says, so as travail upon a woman with a child, so sudden destruction shall come upon them. So sudden destruction, makes you think like there's one day where everything just goes all wrong, and that's it. Tomorrow we're in Jacob's trouble. Now it's not going to work like that. The sudden destruction. When you think, like, for example, Donald Trump came in, MAGA, make America great again. That's peace and safety. That's peace and safety to Babylon the Great, America, the order of this world, how everything has been running. That is peace and safety to it. And then it says, but then sudden destruction. So you then think, oh, but one day all of a sudden it's going to change, and tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Jacob's trouble starts. It says, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. But it says, as travail upon a woman with child. So that sudden destruction isn't like one particular day, like I keep saying, oh, today's the day of Jacob's trouble. Shit, nobody told me. And then now you've got to just act quickly. It's a build-up process. So you're struggling, you want this baby out of you, especially if it's summer. These women, and they're fully pregnant, 8 weeks and, I don't know, 21 days pregnant or whatever, almost at that 9 months. And it's middle of summer, they're stretched, they're just like sweating, ankles are huge, this, that, and the other, and they just want the baby gone. We've had that, and we're waiting for the day. And like I keep saying, in August, I said, look, now the Most High is going to turn the world upside down. Again, it's not going to happen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. It's going to be a build-up process of turning the world upside down, but you're going to witness it because I've explained it. So then now, the day has come, the day that Nero arrived, the day the Most High put Nero in place to bring the turning of the world upside down, that trouble, that destruction, that sudden destruction, which travailed as a woman with a child. So now today's the day. Donald Trump's come in, and in October, I explained that it was like a contraction. A few prophets explained that. I remember that being said a couple of times here and there. So we explained to you that that was like a contraction. People were talking about World War III in October. They were getting excited. Oh, we could be out of here by Christmas. But we weren't. We're not. We're still here. And that's because if you understand what's going on, you understand that was the first contraction of the day, turning the world upside down. People talking about World War III. This is, people know around the world. They may not be fully clued up with, prophecy like we are, but the world ain't right, and wars on the cards. The world's in a bad place. Immigration's just lost control. Crime has lost control. Everything's lost control. People are waking up. They're seeing it. They're fighting against little fights here and little fights there, protesting, but it ain't doing anything. And the more and more people get upset, the more this anger builds. And then what happens is you get these situations like that happen in the Middle East, and that gets everybody excited. Oh yeah, you know what? Well, not excited, but then they start to think, this is like is this the end of days? This is the end of time. They don't even know what they're talking about. They're just things they've heard off TV regarding the Bible. I've sat there saying so I remember in 2020, some idiot at work said to me, "Oh, this is the apocalypse. This is the apocalypse." Well, what was going on in 2020? And I said to her, "Do you know what the word apocalypse means?" "No, but this is the apocalypse. But this is the apocalypse." And she's like, these people don't even know what they're saying, but they just say it. But what it is, they can actually feel that there's something in the air. So, and it says, "And they shall not escape." And this is what people in the back of their minds, they do wonder: is there this day that will come in their lifetime, especially with the way the world is today, where they will not be able to escape? What can't you escape? Can't escape ICBMs and social disorder, a breakdown in society. But so that sudden destruction is like the day coming. Now it's the day, and then so with this signifies the day. How do you know today's the day of the baby? Not yet, not tomorrow or whatever. It's because you had a contraction. So the contraction was in October. You had a contraction. People talking about war. It's out there. Things were happening. Things were getting blasted to and fro. And then Trump was getting voted in. And things look real bad. But, you think things look bad then. Look how bad they look now. It's only and this is the beautiful part. So you look at what's happening now, and you see all of a sudden it's just erupted in the Middle East again. And then this time, on the political scene, this immigration problem has been racked up a couple of levels since the last time we looked at it in October. Then you look at like Trump, he's just come in, signed a whole handful of executive orders and this, that, and the other, and people, you've got ICE are rolling around. Then you've got this LA thing, the play. It's like a play. You go to the theater. You could go to the theater and sit in the audience and watch the play on the stage, the opera, or you can just go to LA and just be in the opera with the thing that they set up, and they have their actors and they're running, but they're running game on it. They're just saying, well, they're creating the disorder, they're creating the chaos to come with the order. But while that's happening in the background, and then, like I say, this week you've had this eruption in the Middle East. People are talking about war again. People are getting excited. This is another contraction. And so, we've had things in between, but these are major contractions. This is when the world's talking about war. That's a contraction. The whole world that reverberates around the whole world. Some of the things you speak about in your videos, they don't reverberate around the world necessarily to all people, but they're going around the world, as the scriptures say, through the internet, and it's heard in all parts. But some of these people don't get it. A lot of them, how many 8-9 billion people in the planet, not all of them get it. But then for example, when people talk about war, and then they're seeing bombs flying in the Middle East, they're looking on the news, they're hearing that, they're seeing their own government stocking up, piling up on arsenal, then they realize something's about to go down. And so they think it's going to go down now. They thought it was going to go down in October. But these are contractions. And then, like I keep saying, I said to you in August, the Mossad was going to start turning the world upside down. In October, he sent a contraction. And then now you count the months. But just say the beginning of October. That would be the full month of October. Say so October, because it was taking place in October. I remember that. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. That's 9 months. Obviously, we're in the 9th month. It's just gone past midnight, so it's classified as the 18th of June. So we're in the 9th month. We're in the 9th month since that last major contraction, and so this is another major contraction. It coincides with a woman giving birth. When does she give birth? She gives birth in the 9th month. So they've said safety, and that's make America great again. But now the world's getting turned upside down. You've seen that contraction. You've seen another contraction now. There's a whole heap of talk going on. Donald Trump says this: we're going to blast them out of the sky, and then he says, "Oh, we want a peace deal." We say, they're talking all sorts of stuff. You've got the small hats just keep constantly asking for the help, claiming that they're a threat. Obviously, Iran's threat is the fact that they're building an ICBM. They're getting close, and I said this to you, like at the beginning of 2023. They want to have this thing done by 2026. The small hats expect by 2026 them to have that thing ready. So even though they're shooting off a third of their missiles, but they're still building that ICBM, and that's whether they're doing it or not. That's the excuse that the small hats are using to go in there, and that's what they believe. They believe that. I think that's what it is. They believe that they got that, and obviously they're building that because they want to have weight to fight against the West. Again, is this all part of the play, the opera? We know the banking elites control it, so we can't be there, in amongst all of them as a fly on the wall, listening to their conversations. But we know where it's going. But like I say, you've had that contraction started in October. You've had this one now. We're in the 9th month since October. So when's the next contraction going to take place? I don't know. But what I can tell you is it's not going to be another 9 months, because when the contractions then come, they get shorter, closer together. So it might come in 8 months, and then you might have another World War III contraction in 7 months. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be like that either. But what I do believe is the next contraction is not going to be 9 months. It's going to be less than that. So we'll see. And like I say, 9 months from now is what. So you've got June. So say July, July. Where am I going? July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So between now and March, I believe this situation, we won't have to wait until March for the next major contraction when it comes to World War III. They could turn into it now. This thing could just keep escalating. But at the minute, like I say, they're talking about a third of their thing has been depleted. Russia hasn't actually rushed in yet. The cavalry hasn't arrived, but at some point they will. Putin's talking wreck over there. But again, how much of this is all part of the play to get them to this war so they can reset the system? But at the same time, when these certain nations go to war, they're going to believe that they can hold weight. Russia being one of them, and then obviously, as the scriptures keep telling us that the world is going to fall out with America and side with Russia and all shoot their ICBMs to Babylon the Great, America, turn it into a desert. So it says, "But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, and that day should not overtake you as a thief in the day of the Lord." It says, "You are children of the light, of light." It says, "And the children of the day." It says, "And we are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober. It says, for they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Let us be, so, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and the helmet of hope and salvation." It says, "For the Most High have not appointed us to wrath. It says, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahushua the Anointed, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. It says, wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do." But it says here, Apostle Paul mentioned the it says, "But ye brethren are not in darkness, and that day should not overtake you as a thief. You are all the children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness." So the Spirit starts working on you, and you make these various choices. Ultimately, it leads you into a predestinated path, but you still have to make the choices to be able to get into the path. You can keep making the wrong choices, and it just makes everything difficult for you along that way. So, when you're in tune with the Spirit and you realize that, and it helps to guide you through what you're doing. But a lot of the time, you hear music, and then the music, you hear these various lyrics, and you relate it to the scriptures. Or you can, or vice versa. You might read a scripture and you relate it to certain songs that you've heard. And this is one is the Zootons. This is black people always want to listen to black music, but the problem with being black is that the black is devoid of light. A real music person is able to appreciate various different types of music, and that's what makes him a music man. You got these jakes that are black, and you play something that's not black, and they look at you sideways because it's not black. But if you only listen to one genre of music, you're not a music man. You're just a man of one genre, or one particular thing. So this is like what you call rock and roll. It's not exactly what you'd catch me at the traffic lights with, but obviously living in Babylon the Great, I go to work with these Edomites. They play their songs. You hear it. It kind of gets in your head. And this is one from quite a time back, 2004. It says, "You will, you won't." The Zootons, they're from Liverpool. And they're Edomite looking, but they obviously from Liverpool you get a lot of jakes, through the transatlantic slave trade. So the seed of Jake is spread in Liverpool. It's quite a lot. So you look at the lyrics here. He's pretty much speaking from the point of view of the Most High. It says, "You will, you won't." He says, "You do, you don't." You're saying you will, but you won't. It's like the MOTB. The Most High told you don't take the MOTB. And a lot of Israelites say, yeah, I will listen to what you say. I will not take it. But it says, you won't. You won't listen to me, and you're going to take it. And that's what we keep telling a lot of jakes. You've got to really build up your spirit for when the MOTB hits. It says, you may, you might, your chest gets tight. You say you love day, but you come out at night. And that's what Apostle Paul's telling you. We are children of the light. We're children of the day. And those people that don't want to take on board this truth, they're of the night. They're drunken, so let them be of the night. They say to you, oh, they love the day, but then they come out at night. And that's the problem, you see. This is why when it comes to the MOTB, it says that it says here you're saying you will, but you won't. You'll say the Most High tells them to obey them, and they say I will, but you won't, because really and truly you're of the night. It says yeah, while you're thinking up a storm in you, it says all the things you're thinking, are they false or are they true? It says and this is the Most High speaking to these people, because all this information is out there. The Most High's name's hidden. He's revealing it through the prophets, and these people out there, these Israelites, they have a choice to make. Are you going to listen to IUIC? Are you going to listen to GMS? All the things you're thinking, are they false or are they true? It says, the dipsy doodle rag, it tells no lie. It says, but all the time you're thinking, well, you're tricking your mind. It says, well, you will, you won't. You do, you don't. You're saying you will, but you won't. It says, you may, you might. Your chest gets tight. You say you love day, but you come out at night. And then it goes on to say, so, well, the devil standing tall on the top of the hill, pointing down his fork and betraying your will. It says, you've got to make decisions, whether old or new. Then the Most High comes down from the heavens, and he'll say to you, well, you will, you won't. You do, you don't. You're saying you will, but you won't. It says, you may, you might. Your chest gets tight. You say you love day, but you come out at night. And then he goes on to say, well, I've tried so hard to make it right, I'm going to bury my thoughts and forget all my worries tonight. And it's like, this is what happens to these jakes. This is why they don't really want to hear this truth, because they try to be it, but they just can't, because it's predestinated. So you've got these people that come into the truth, and they try to get down with it, and then they think they can, I'm going to find the truth. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and I'm going to find the truth. And then you end up following IUIC, thinking you've got the truth. You're just as lost as anybody else. Because what are they teaching you about hell, about this, about that, all sorts of stupid stuff. And that's what they do. They just bury their thoughts and just forget about it and just keep rolling. That's why they're zombies. That's what a zombie does, is bury the thought. Well, I've tried so hard to make it right, I'm going to bury my thoughts. They turn into zombies and forget all my worries tonight. And then the Most High comes back in. You will, you won't. You do, you don't. You're saying you will, but you won't. You may, you might. Your chest gets tight. You say you love day, but you come out at night. It says, well, you will, you won't. You do, you don't. You're saying you will, but you won't. You may, you might. Your chest gets tight. You say you love day, but you come out at night. And that's the Zootons. So Apostle Paul, you are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. So you can connect. I do it a lot. Like I read through the scriptures and these songs just pop up in my head. I mean, look how old that song is. It's 2004, so it's not like I just heard it yesterday. But you read stuff and then you think, oh shit, it's that song. Or sometimes you hear the song and you go, damn, he's breaking down the scriptures. Now, like I say, rock and roll, it's not really Jake's music. Oh, it's white boy music, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But what it is, I mean, I wouldn't go like into like death metal and all that kind of stuff. Come on, man, and all this stupid stuff. But obviously, you get these bands and they can play various songs, call it rock and roll or whatever. Various different. Rock and roll's like Christianity. There's so many friggin' branches to it. You wouldn't know where to start. But I suppose that's what they would class themselves as. So like I say, it's not something you're going to find Jake at the traffic lights rocking. But when you check the lyrics, there's a message in there. So this is the White Stripes, Jack White, and I think his sister, Megan White, Seven Nation Army. This is 2003. Again, see, these people are like biblically inspired. When you watch their videos, everything is red, black, and white, as you can see in this little picture here. and they look a bit like satanic. Like, look, you just look. I mean, come on, So it just looks like, you look at it and you're just like, what? And at first, the first impression is like these. It's a bit of like mental health situation going on or whatever. But actually, when you look deeper, you actually realize they're kind of like. Well, you have to listen to the lyric really. Hang on. So this is from the point of view of Yahushua. It says, "I'm going to fight them off. A seven-nation army couldn't hold me back. A seven-nation army couldn't hold me back." So if you took like the armies of seven nations and put them together, that's what he's saying. Even that couldn't hold me back. He says they're going to rip it off. They're going to take their time right behind my back. So this is like, your time like iconoclasm. They rip it off. They ripped. Like in England, we call it a rip. Like if I if I start dressing like somebody and I got my hairstyle like him and I'm acting like him, I'm just ripping the guy off. I'm like copying him. You might be a rapper and then I just copy your lyrics word for word. I ripped off your lyrics. So what did they do in iconoclasm? They ripped off Yahushua. He says they're going to rip it off. They're going to take their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. And that's what you do when you're angry. You'll sit there. You've gone through certain situations in the day, and then you end up sitting there at night, thinking to yourself, and you think, "Fuck this, whatever," and blah blah blah, and these people, and they did that, and whatever. And this is what it is. And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. It's back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. Obviously, that's just, he's thrown that in there. I wouldn't condone that. It says, and the message coming from my eyes says, leave it alone. Yahushua is coming back with eyes as flame of fire. It says, don't want to hear about it. Every single one's got a story to tell. So when Yahushua comes back, he ain't coming back to hear your story about how hard your life was. It says everyone knows about it. Everyone knows about what? Everybody knows about his story. And that's what he's dealing with when he comes back. He's dealing with his situation. He ain't dealing with your situation. So whatever your problem is, these people in the world, they think Jesus is coming back and they're going to, all like shake hands and have a big garden party. That's not what it is. That's not what's going to happen when the Messiah of the Bible returns. It says everyone knows about it. It says from the Queen of England to the hounds of hell. And if I catch it coming back my way, I'm going to serve it to you. And that's what Yahushua is doing. He's going to catch it coming back. He's, the Most High is giving him that chance. He's go on the cross, but I'm going to give you this chance to go back and bash these people. And that's what he's waiting on. And if I catch it coming back my way, I'm going to serve it to you. And that ain't what you want to hear, but that's what I'll do. And the feeling coming from my bones says, find a home. And that home is obviously going to be in Jerusalem. It says, and I'm coming, it says, okay, so I'm going to Wichita. Hang on a minute. Let me just reverse a second. I was supposed to jump to... Oh, yeah. Now, it comes in now. So, the next... whatever verse... It says, I'm going to Wichita, far from this opera, forevermore. So, the opera is what we're in. We're in the show of the Most High, this whole situation of captivity, blah, blah, blah. And we want to get far away from it, and we need Yahushua to do that for us, forevermore. So it says, I'm going to Wichita. Now, Wichita, I don't know if I looked it up. Yeah, Wichita is widely known as the air capital of the world due to its prominent role in aviation industry, particularly in the 20th century. It also recognized for its diverse culture, strong economy, blah, blah, blah. So it's known for being the air capital of the world. So, an Apostle Paul, this is Ephesians chapter 2 and 1, says, and you have been quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins,
where in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, which we all did. It's according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. So that's what we keep saying. These Israelites that are out here, they're of our nation, but they're not in our spirit, and they walk according to the world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. So Wichita is the prince of the power of the air. And then, when it says like it says I'm going to Wichita, far from this opera, so forevermore. So when he goes to Wichita, we'll be far from this opera, this drama, this saga that is these captivities forevermore. And when you go to Isaiah, it says, "Who is that cometh from Edom, with thy garments from Bozrah?" Bozrah was the capital of Edom. So Yahushai is coming to Bozrah. It says that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, with the so-called UFOs. It says, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So the most Yahushua is going to pay a visit to the prince of the power of the air. He's going to Bozrah, or in this song, he's put it down as I'm going to Wichita, far from this opera, forevermore. Because what you see on the world, all this drama, the World War III, the MOTB, the immigration, it's a play, it's an opera, it's a drama, it's a saga. Every day is another episode of this saga that is all the captivities that we've been through. It says, I'm going to work the straw, because we've been through slavery. It says, make the sweat drip out of every pore. So when Yahushua was on the cross, he sweating, but he sweat blood. And then this goes on to say, and I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding right before the Lord. So all the words are going to bleed from me, and I will think no more. It says, and the stains coming from my blood tell me, go back home. So, going back home is to Jerusalem, set up that kingdom, and just smash these nations to pieces. When he comes back on that, he's going to, in World War III, in the midst of World War III, a UFO invasion is going to appear, and that is going to be basically the king of the earth. And you've got Yahweh, he's sending his son to rule the earth, and he's coming with payback. He's coming to break bones. He's coming to, and what it is, you see. So you look at this. We understand what Yahushua is coming to do. He's coming to bang heads, and then you look at this white boy. He looks all satanic. Their brother and sister. You go and look at pictures of them, and they look like it's like these like Edomite looking, like people at school, like these little Edomite dudes running around, and then trying to hang around with the black boy or whatever. But then, so you think, nah, you couldn't think this guy's a Jake. But then what he's done, you see, now you say, oh, how do you know this is all from the point of view of Yahushua and so on and so forth? Well, he said, look, he said, the Lord, and I'm bleeding and I'm bleeding and I'm bleeding right before the Lord. Then, when you look into them, they had this album was inspired by the Bible. So, he could be a Jake, and he's explaining how Shai's coming back to do damage, and basically take what's his. What does it say? And if I catch it coming back my way, I'm going to serve it to you. He's going to serve destruction, and that ain't what you want to hear, but that's what I'll do. And then it goes on to say, and the feeling coming from my bones says, find a home. I'm going to Wichita. So you, like, for example, where's there? They got another one here somewhere. So they had this other song. Like I say, I only know these two songs, to be honest, from them. So it's not like I'm some big fan. But they had this other one now. Blue Orchid. Now what it is, this little bit here, but you can read it, the full bit down the bottom. It says the opening track of Get Behind Me, Satan. So you know they're biblically inspired. It says takes inspiration from the Bible, as most of the album it is off does, whatever they're trying to say, but its main meaning is actually about child abuse, this particular song. Blue Orchid. What's going on there? My screen cut out for a second. Am I still recording? Yeah. Screen went black for a second. It says Blue Orchid was the name of a Russian child PDF file, pretty much, organization. You can see what is written there. I would say these keywords for them to flag me. So this ties right in with the ongoing theme of losing purity throughout the song. So these people are biblically inspired. Even when you go through these lyrics, now, like I say, the song's a bit like rough and fast and heavy, sort of not heavy metal, but rocky or whatever. But you like I say, you check the lyrics. It says they're talking to. It's the point of view of talking to the PDF files who run that organization, Blue Orchid. And it says, you got a reaction, didn't you? So when you watch the video, it's not actually her. I don't know who she is, but I'm pretty sure it's his sister is in the video, and she plays the part of a drummer. And what it is, when you watch the video, it looks weird and like mental health issues all over it. And you're just like, what's wrong with these people? But like I say, when you actually understand what the song's about, you see the video, she's in the background in a house playing the drums. But the drums are dishes, and she's playing the drums with a hammer. And then while she's doing that, her a little baby is next to her on the floor being ignored. And she obviously clearly looks like mentally ill. And what they're showing is the result of these children that get abused, because guess what? One day they grow up to be adults, but they grow up to be fucked up adults, like really fucked up. So this is talking to those PDF files. It says, you got a reaction, didn't you? You took a white orchid, and turned it blue. Something's better than nothing. So this is that's what they'll tell you. I'll get over it. Something's better than nothing. But the response to that is something better than nothing is giving up. It says we all need to do something to try to keep the truth from showing up, and that's what they do. With these type of organizations. This you think this Blue Orchid? I think it was like I'm not going to look into it now, but I looked up to it before, and they were like, obviously they're based in Russia, but they have customers all around the world. Should we say it like that? So then it goes on to say, how dare you? How old are you now anyway? It's talking to the PDF file. How dare you? How old are you now anyway? How dare you? How old are you now anyway? You're given a flower, but I guess that there's just no pleasing you. Your lips taste sour, but you think it's just me teasing you. You got a reaction, didn't you? You took a white orchid and turned it blue. And again, look, get behind me now anyway. Get behind me now anyway. Get behind me now anyway. You got a reaction, didn't you? You took a white orchid, and turned it blue. So like it's weird because like I say, you look again, black, red, and white. It's like the only colours that you ever see in their videos or whatever. That's their thing apparently. So you look at it and it's like I say, you watch the video and you're like, these people are off their heads, but you actually check the thing and they tell you more truth than they do on the news. So you could do that. I do that a lot. We go through the scriptures, for example, and like I kind of hear stuff, and then you read stuff, and then you link it to songs, or whatever else, vice versa. There's another one here. You see, like I don't know why my brain does it, but I just do it. I hear it, and then I listen, and then for some reason it registers. This is another one. Another rock and roll. There you go, genre, alternative, indie, pop rock, whatever. 2006, Kasabian, they're English, I think. Shoot the Runner. So this is Donald Trump. So, Donald Trump was Nero. And what did he do? He didn't shoot the runner, but he beheaded one, and he crucified the other one upside down. Apostle Peter and Apostle Paul. So, Donald Trump coming in now, aka Nero, aka the world turning upside down, aka Jacob's Trouble, World War III, and the MOTB. That's also the time of famine of the word, of hearing the word. And some of you, the book of Revelation said that some of you may be put to death for this word. We don't know, so we'll see what goes. So at some point, we could expect Nero to want to shoot the runner, and the runners are the prophets. If you look at the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, and this word was given to the runners. And I believe, hang on, let me go to that, because I'm pretty sure it talks about the time as well. I can't even spell Habakkuk, that's the thing. Oh, shit. Yeah, 1. Let me just hang on. Yeah, Habakkuk chapter 2 and 1, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me. It says, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. It says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. So, I had the vision in October, and the vision completed the vision that I had in 2018. And then I said it. I said, look, the Most High is going to turn the world upside down. And then you saw a contraction, the introduction of Nero, and conflict in the Middle East. We're in the 9th month since that happened, and we're seeing another conflict in the Middle East. And Donald Trump's just doing Donald Trump. So we've written the vision down, made it plain, ran, the runner reading it to you. It says here, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. This is the time. We're telling you, this is the time. It says, but at the end it shall speak, and it's speaking now. The fact that we're in the middle of it, and you can say, watch this, and this happens. And then a couple of months later, oh, look at that now, look at the timing of it. All this happened, remember, after the solar eclipse, the R and the Thar. So this is the time. If you don't, what else do you want? What do you want? The only way clearer it could be if the Most High rang you himself and left you a voicemail message and telling you what time it is. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. It's speaking loud and clear and not lie. It doesn't lie. That's why we can tell you, and it happens. We speak in the spirit of the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, which doesn't lie. It says, though it tarry, wait for it. We don't have to wait. It's here. It says, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It's here. You're seeing it playing out before you. So at some point, Nero, aka Donald Trump, might want to shoot the runner, and the runner are the prophets. So Kasabian, 2006, shoot the runner. It says, shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king, and she's my queen. So Donald Trump is that cruel lord, the king of Babylon, and his queen is Babylon the Great, the whore. It says, shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king, and she's my queen. Dream again in your way. Always knew that you would. Lose yourself to the scene. Am I only a dream? So, this is the message that Yahweh Shai gives out, that we give out. You live in this world and you lose yourself to the scene. Always knew that you would. Am I only a dream? Is Yahweh Shai a dream? Is there really a God? Is there really a Most High? Does he really have a son? Is he really coming back to save us from this shit? Look how long it's been. Look how much stuff is going on. Look how much wickedness these people get away with putting against you every day. But yeah, you got to take it on the chin, and be like a lamb, be harmless like a lamb. But then it goes back to Trump. Shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king and she's my queen, bitch. That's what it says. So this is him. This is that. That's what it's depicting. To me, in my mind, through the spirit. Maybe that man didn't write the song like that. It says, bang away with your chang. Always know that I can get you onto the floor absinthe make you a whore. So the Chang, the Most High made America the whore. Babylon the Great, and he did it on pride. He gave them Chang. Chang in the UK we call that what they would call Coke. They call it Chang, but what Coke build you up on your pride. People get coked up and they get into all sorts of trouble because they think they're Superman, um, and that's what Babylon the Great is. It's that ultimate proud nation, more stout than his fellows. Get you onto the floor, absinthe make you a whore. America's a whore, and the Most High used her to make the whole world drink of the cup. It says, shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king and she's my queen. So here comes back Nero. They don't want us out here speaking this. And as they're bringing together this plan piece by piece and putting it in together, we're showing you bit by bit. And so at some point they got to stop us speaking. Shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king and she's my queen. Shoot the runner, shoot the runner. I'm a king and she's my queen, bitch. Kings, they come and they go. By this sword they must know. All things come and they pass. Live your days like the rest. So that's back to the spirit telling Babylon the Great, America. They're saying shoot the runner, shoot the runner, because they don't want to hear this message. But the spirit comes back. Kings, they come and they go. By this sword you must know. All things come and then pass. Live your days like the rest. And you're my queen. That's it. Shoot the runner, because I'm the king, and you're my queen, bitch. So that's Nero coming back in. It's a back and forth. So I don't know why, but I hear these songs and then it just lights up in my head. Or sometimes you read it. What's the other one? You got the 144,000, and you got that. There's another set. I can't remember the song now, but there's another song that talks about. I can boogie all night long if I have the right song. That's the truth. We have this truth. So the 144,000, they have that song, and they sing it perfectly, and that's how you can boogie all night long with that truth. Without it, you ain't boogieing out here. Okay, so I almost forgot one more. So we're looking at Iran. We're looking at the destruction coming, Babylon the Great being destroyed, ICBMs. So there was another one. Where was it? It's Cream. This is from the 70s. It's an older song. It's called Cream Lyrics. Sorry, it's for Sunshine of Your Life. They're called Cream. They're not called Cream Lyrics. Sunshine of Your Love. You'll hear this. See what it is with these songs, right? Jake won't really rock these types of songs, but when you hear the movies, they'll use these types of songs, and these types of songs set moods. When rock and roll, it's like a war. It's like a war song. It's like war music. So, for example, this one's talking about destruction, and you got the other one talk about your house shy coming back, catching people out, this, that, and the other. And it's all about war. And so when you look at the lyrics of this song you would have heard of. It's quite famous, obviously. You would have heard it in movies, this, that, and the other. I'll leave little links for them in the description box. But it says well, you could look them up yourself. It says here, getting near dawn. And that's where we are now. We're waiting for dawn, for the morning, for that morning star, Yahweh Shai. We're waiting for the light. We're children of the light, but we're surrounded by darkness. So we're not of the darkness, but we're surrounded by it. So we're waiting for dawn. It says, when the lights close their tired eyes. Because, the saints are worn out. It says, I'll soon be with you, my love, to give you my dawn surprise. So that dawn surprise is the return of Yahweh Shai in those so-called UFOs, the chariots of Israel. It says, I'll be with you, darling, soon. I'll be with you when the stars start falling. So, this man's talking about the stars falling. At what point in history or the future or any given time throughout the history of this planet, at what point are we expecting the stars to fall? We're expecting it to fall as with the nuclear ICBMs when they start to fall. It says, I'll be with you when the stars start falling. It says, I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going in the sunshine of your love. And it says, I'm with you, my love. The light's shining through on you. Yes, I'm with you, my love. It's the morning, and just we two. I'll stay with you, darling, now. I'll stay with you till my seas are dried up. And don't forget, the elect are the bride of Yahushai. It's a marriage taking place where obviously he comes back, and that's what we're getting ourselves ready for, the marriage. So it says, I'll stay with you till my seas are dried up. And that's what the scriptures tell you, that the Most High will do away with won't do away with Israel, do away with the planet before he does away with the children of Israel, but he won't do away with the planet. So we're here, we're going to be the Most High's children. We had to go through this captivity for particular reasons, that we didn't obey the Most High, but we have grace being offered to us through Yahushai. It says, I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going in the sunshine of your love. It says, I'm with you, my love. The light's shining through on you. Yes, I'm with you, my love. It's the morning, and just we two. I'll stay with you, darling, now. I'll stay with you till my seas are dried up. I've been waiting so long, blah, 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 to be where I'm going in the sunshine of your... So, and these are the people there. Again, they look like hippies. You see all these types of colours. Disraeli Gears, that's what they call the album. Disraeli was, I think, I looked it up. I mean, the only famous Disraeli was the man who pretty much invented the Conservative Party in England. But again, it just goes back to the top. I'll be with you when the stars start falling. It's getting near dawn. When the lights close their tired eyes, I'll soon be with you, my love, to give you my dawn surprise. I'll be with you, darling, soon. I'll be with you when the stars start falling. So the destruction's coming soon. Yahushai, Lord willing, he's with us and protects the elect. So I hope that was edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, Kwadash. Until next time, Shalom.